Hey guys, here to get into the film GoodFellas, which was directed by Martin Scorsese and released in the year 1990. And this is just one of those films that's just never boring for a second. I mean, it really reminds you a lot of The Rush that I feel like Wolf of Wall Street takes you through. Although I think that one might be a slightly improved take because it's a little more original, I think, in the end. GoodFellas is equally a perfect film in the end, but taking you through kind of the adrenaline rush side of a real big tragedy, but it doesn't have a tragic lens at it, like say like something like Casino. Goodfellas is just kind of taking it more on the punk outlook on the gangster genre. I think that that's what made this a much needed breakthrough kind of film from the Godfather films. So the Godfather films were romanticizing all of this and actually showing like a truth to romanticization. While Goodfellas just kind of said screw all romanticization, just get to the nitty gritty of how like ridiculous all this actually is. And this is a perfect film. I mean, there's so many perfect quotes and so many perfect moments of dialogue that I think it's absolutely a masterpiece. And it really, it is one of those films where sometimes I step back and it's like, is this one of those films where is it just too much? But then I actually watch it, I'm like, it's always as perfect, as I remember it being. And it's just kind of taken on a lot of just charisma within really dark situations. That's kind of like what gets you about it. But I think what's interesting and unique about this one is Martin Scorsese was out to portray this film and edit it as if it were a 2.5 hour trailer. So it's just like a big adrenaline rush the entire way through. And I love how literally the rise and fall, like, and it really does depict America through, the 50s through this 80s, almost the rock and roll side of America, by the way, of seeing how the gangsters are living. But you see the 50s and 60s feel all bright and glorious, while the 70s and 80s become like a real anxious rush. And it feels like it actually goes along with a lot of the rock and roll movement. And it, kind of becomes more and more like punk new wave as it goes, although it starts off very classy, classic rock and 50s like kind of music. And then you got just Robert De Niro as Jimmy Conway is just really ruthless. He's really intimidating. I mean, Joe Pesci's a total psychopath in this film. I mean, he's one of the most intimidating characters ever because you literally never know what he's going to do next. And that's what this film kind of runs on. It just this unpredictable nature. And it has a unique essence where the narration could be overdone, but somehow it just lends itself perfectly to just telling this ridiculous story in a realistic way because it is a true story. Just like Casino and Wolf of Wall Street are. They really are. It's like a loose money trilogy kind of happened with these three films. This is the first of it. Just like kind of how money gets to people's heads and makes people go loco, literally. And of course, Ray Liotta as Henry Hill. I mean, he's interesting. He reminds me a lot of Robert De Niro in The Irishman, where it's like he's not really that dominating of a character, but it's a little more everyman somehow for that. So it's easy to put yourself in his person's shoes while you're just kind of along for the ride, watching all the insanity happen. While it happens to him too, like he's pretty insane too, and not everyone in this film is very unlikable also. So that's always like. You're just living with the bad guys the entire way. You don't really get a glimpse of anything else outside of that. And this is a remarkable film that really just has energy and humor all throughout. And that's kind of where this movie kind of has that The Godfather doesn't. Like it laughs at itself a lot more. I mean, this one was actually hilarious. Although The Godfather kind of has over it a lot more of a powerful and depressing, like kind of horror almost like outlook. Well, Goodfellas is kind of laughing at it, but while doing an equally perfect job of getting the same kind of things across in a lot of ways. And it's just, it deserves its classic status as one of the best mob films of all time because it's very rewatchable. And it just really shows Martin Scorsese just kind of taking you through just a bunch of ridiculous scenarios that seem like they're too much. It just feels like this guy Tony, all these scenarios that are too insane to be true, but they really are true. And I mean, it really is. Listen, say like it's going to 1990. I feel like a lot of the birth of like 90. You can almost feel the bridge of 80s to 90s filmmaking happening right here. Like I feel like Martin Scorsese just invented the 90s in a way with this film. Although obviously there was stuff in the 80s foreshadowing all this, but Martin Scorsese really made this a Goodfellas and just feels so reminiscent of stuff that come like Pulp Fiction. This has always like been a quiet influence on just about every film to come after. It feels like in its own kind of way because it's just a unique depiction of just being behind the scenes of really intense stuff while being hilarious about it all. Really darkly hilarious about it too. Just because again, everyone's going crazy. Everyone's just so it just gets to the point of excess, but it never goes way too. That's what makes this different from Casino and Wolf of Wall Street. Those films just go completely over the top. And Goodfellas is over the top in its own way, but it is somehow a lot more of a subtle kind of take. Well, and not expressing too much tragedy or too much partying about it. It's just somewhere right in the middle of it all. So you can say this is like kind of the most even balance. And probably the best one to start with for that kind of loose trilogy. I think, just to take in as well, these three films are doing that are so important and why they still deserve the ranking is like a perfect film. And I think to me, I think it is literally because the screenplay and the way that moves everything such an entertaining pace is absolutely perfect, and it's very influential for all the films I'm going to make to come. That's the only I've gotten great response on Fallacy, my first feature-length film, but only biggest thing is I think I do want to be a more quick pace kind of guy. Just not don't maybe try about no more too much drifting this time around. It's kind of a drifter, and I think I needed to get a drifter out of my system. Melancholic piece, you could say. But Goodfellas, it's just it's just like hanging out with the people that you don't ever want to meet, but you can see where it's a good time until it goes way too far. Almost, it's just that's the adrenaline rush of the film. Then it's like, okay, then the hangout movie with people you never want to hang out with, literally, and you just see these people, the scumbags, momentarily living the beautiful life until it all goes to hell, basically, slowly but surely. That's kind of what the whole film depicts. Oh, the soundtrack here just does perfectly. You got Cap to pick this picture here. The dialogue's perfect here. There's a really unique intensity to this film that just gives it a really distinctive kind of edge, and always great performances just come back and just constantly just feels like something better on every rewatch. And there's just so much energy that lives in this film. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff going on here that's really interesting. It makes it, along with like Godfather's, is the most iconic gangster film ever made. It seems like nowadays this is the more iconic one in a way, because it's just, I think the modern essence is a little bit more of like a desire to lighten up about the subject matter rather than take it too seriously. It's that's the difference. Although I'm a fan of The Godfather, all the same, Goodfellas is kind of the light side. It's still dark, just as dark, I'll say, but it's like the hilarious side of all this stuff. Where it's a bunch of ridiculous just situations that edited to feel like a really fast-paced experience. The dialogue just floats along perfectly, and it's just Martin Scorsese in pure rise and fall fashion. And it's a really I think that's what I always just, I saw this the first time. I think I was 15, 16. I just always loved the way this film was edited, the way it's all told. It's very masterful. This is just plain old how it's done right here. I mean, I think it's just one of those films that's just, you got to be right in your DNA a moment. It's quite great. All these memorable characters, all these memorable just scenarios as they unfold. As you watch, people you don't want to be around, but people you want to like see. Like, hey, I want to feel as good as they're feeling, but I don't want to be seedy or bad. I want to be decent-hearted about it. But this is good. That's Goodfellas. It's I highly recommend a masterpiece once you're up for an R-rated film. Honestly, that's Goodfellas.